So far, please give it up for London Jackson! I mean, she knows all about Batman.
I'm hyped.
Bring it.
Hey everybody, again. So, I run History of the Batman. So, this panel is so exciting for me because we are going to be celebrating Batman in Animation Day. And I have some of the most iconic voice actors for the character. So we have with us Batman, Kevin Conroy, who has been since the beginning. We also have Will Friedle, who's also Batman, very beginnings for Batman. And I am so excited to say we have John Glover, who is the voice of Riddler in Batman. So I would like everyone to come out. We have Kevin Conroy, we have Will Friedle, and we have John Glover. I think they're coming. Is Batman back there? There he is.
I feel like I've been here recently.
So we are here celebrating Batman in animation. Now, while Batman has been on the small screen in animation since the late 60s to Super Friends in the 70s and 80s, there is nothing quite like 1992 when Batman the Animated Series began and kicked off the classic DC animated universe. And I just wanted to ask, with Batman the Animated Series and you and Kevin, you voicing Bruce Wayne's Batman, and John, you voicing the Riddler, and Will, you voicing Terry McGinnis for Batman Beyond follow-up. How did you come to get these roles, and how did you want to bring your own spin to bringing to life these classic characters when you originally first started?
Well, I kind of stumbled into it because it was literally the first audition I ever went on for an animated character was Batman. I didn't do animation. I was a New York stage actor. I happened to be in LA doing a TV show, and my voiceover agent sent me over to audition for Batman. And I was so naive about it, I didn't even know it had never been an animated show. I knew the Adam West show from when I was a kid, and I assumed there had been some Batman. But I didn't know. I only knew the Adam West show. And Bruce Timm was horrified at that. He said, "What kind of childhood did you have? Didn't you ever read comic books?" So he had to bring me up to speed on the Dark Knight tragedy, watching his parents murdered in front of him as a child, how he becomes this dual identity to deal with his frustrations and his tragedy in himself. So I just improvised at the audition, and I came up with this very dark sound. And it just I kind of created it in the audition, and they hired me, and I had no idea, and I don't think anyone else had any idea that it would last so many years and become so iconic. And Batman the Animated Series would become Batman and Robin, and Batman Beyond, and the Justice League. It just kept growing and growing and growing. You don't know when you start a job what it's going to turn into. You really don't. You can see it in hindsight when you look back, but when you're living it in the moment, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next year or the next month, you know. So it was as much of a surprise for all of us as it was for you. Thank you.
My story and our stories, we've talked about this a bunch of times, are remarkably similar because it was Batman Beyond was the first animated series I'd ever auditioned for either. and we both auditioned for Andrea Romano, who's the queen of the world. I think I had a lot less to live up to because I can say to this day I'm the best Terry McGinnis there's ever been. Because
You're the only Terry.
Exactly. I didn't have to
Terry,
Bruce Wayne. Oh.
get off my lawn.
Exactly. Bitter old Bruce.
Bitter old Bruce.
We'd always work on the bitter old Bruce. So I didn't have to step in any shoes. It wasn't like I had to become Bruce Wayne. So it was a lot easier for me, I think, in that respect. It was very difficult sitting next to Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill for a lot of the show. It's kind of just keeping my mouth shut, thinking I was going to be fired any second, going, you don't belong here, keep your mouth shut, keep your mouth shut. So yeah, it was an incredible experience all the way around. And as Kevin said, you never know what you got when you're there, and you're just kind of in the room, and you're feeling the energy. And when you're with Andrea Romano and her casting, the room is always filled with such remarkable actors that you never know what you're walking into. So it's just, you take it one show at a time, one session at a time. You're having so much fun. And the response was great. We were Beyond just keeps going, so we were really happy with what we had.
I had worked with Andrea Romano on Pinky in the Brain. Yes, there was some episode about shiny pants or something. I wanted shiny pants, or I saw shiny pants and bought a bunch of them. I don't know. I don't remember, but I got a call to go work with Andrea again to be the Riddler, because apparently the Joker had lost his voice. I think he was quitting smoking, and so the Riddler moved up to the Joker, and they needed a new Riddler, so they got me, and I lived right around the corner from where the recording studio was, so I'm only in 3 episodes. And I walked around the corner 3 times on a day, and had the best time with a bunch of actors doing like radio plays, because we were all in the room, and it was like acting with other people, as opposed to now when you do it by yourself and have to do like 20 takes of one line until anyway. So I was only in 3 episodes, and it was on Saturdays, right? I think in the afternoons. And I was all grown up then. I didn't watch Saturday morning cartoons. So it wasn't until these Comic-Cons that I started doing them that I realized how important this cartoon show was to so many people who were brought up on it, learned how to kind of live lives and make choices that are healthy. And I remember one kid at a Comic-Con, I was trying to explain this to him, and he just looked downhearted that I didn't watch it, that I didn't understand it, but he didn't get the point that I was beginning to understand why it was so good. And recently I watched the 3rd and last Riddler episode, and I delighted myself. I couldn't believe how much fun I was having. So it was a real awakening. Yeah, so that's the show for me. Ignorance is bliss till you're wise to learn something.
Well, as Kevin said, initially you didn't know it would grow to be such a large part of Batman lore and the animation itself. But why do you think even almost 30 years later, it is still one of the most beloved interpretations, the DC animated universe as a whole, of the Batman character and his mythology?
I think the biggest reason that it resonates with audiences so much is because of all the superheroes, Batman is the only one who isn't a superhero. There's nothing supernatural about him. He can't fly. He can't see through walls. He's a man. He's a human being, and he's a very flawed man. He's been damaged by life. And we all relate to that because we're all flawed. And we all get beat up by life. And so it makes him that much more human and accessible for us. And his tragedy becomes our drama, and we go through it with him. And I think we admire the fact that no matter what life throws at him, no matter what tragedy or crisis or failure, he never lets it defeat him. He never lets it make him angry or beat him. He never kills. And the reason he doesn't kill is because he is about hope. He is about making positive choices. He's about taking the pain of life and turning it into something positive. And that's just so ennobling for all of us. That's why I think he resonates with people so much.
Now, if I may speak too, because of the way that he's describing that, you can see that he dug deep, really deep. And the part that making it live on and on and on are the group of people that made it, that created it. Because it's very seldom, and when it happens big time, it's just when a group of people come together and make something click, and make it real and make it moving, and who all know how to dig deep. So it was that group gathered together.
Yeah.
There's something about the magic that they created that influenced people's lives. I mean, how to raise kids. I was making jokes before about the children and everything, but in Batman you can talk about anything because it's all about living nobly and just what Kevin was saying. We've all got our problems, and it's how we face them that can prove our beings as humans.
Yeah.
It was never thought of as a cartoon. It was an animated series. And Batman, the animated series, especially in '92, I remember watching. People always say, "Who's your Batman?" So that's the question. Is it? This is my Batman, and always will be. Always will be. But Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Glenn Murakami, Alan Burnett, all these men and women involved, they took this very, very seriously.
Yeah.
Nobody was making a cartoon. They were making a 1930s radio play that happened to be animated. Andrea Romano had a great saying she would always say in the room, "Don't do it pukey." Meaning, like, a newscaster would come on, and if you're doing a cartoon, the newscaster would say, "And tomorrow we're going to Andrea." We're going, no, that's not how we do it. Do it like a newscaster would do it. So all the acting was very grounded in reality. It just happened to be animated.
She's a genius,
She's
Andrea.
brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and so that's one of the reasons I think it's resonated is because it's still just a well-written, well-produced, well-acted, well-directed show.
Yeah.
It just happens to be animated, and I think that's what changed it. Where I never once heard anybody say the Batman cartoon ever. It was always the animated series.
Only me, right?
You're allowed. You're allowed. You're allowed.
Dummy Johnson. That's my mother.
But they were never talking down to the audience. And it was never done as a kid's show. It had to be kid-friendly, but the biggest audience was really college age.
Yeah.
It was a primetime show when it first went on the air. So there was never a sense of doing a kid show. It was, as you were saying, it was an animated series.
Yeah, it was great. And then when we did Batman, we started Batman Beyond. I think the Bruce Timm tells a great story where he said they came in and said we want to do a younger Batman, high school Batman, kid-friendly Batman.
Right.
And Bruce went, okay.